Imagine standing in the court of a tyrant. A severed head is brought before him, and instead of silence, a companion of the Prophet steps forward and speaks words that have echoed through 14 centuries of Islamic history. This was the testimony of Anas ibn Malik. When Imam Hussein's head was placed before Ibn Ziyad, and the tyrant mockingly admired its beauty, a companion who had walked beside the Prophet Muhammad himself could not stay silent. He says, he resembled the Prophet more than anyone. This is not a poetic exaggeration. This is the testimony of a man who had seen the Prophet with his own eyes, and in the face of Hussein, he saw him again. In the year 626, in the city of Medina, a child was born into the household of Prophet Muhammad. His name was Hussein. His father was Ali ibn Abi Talib. His mother was Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of Prophet. When the Prophet heard the news, he came to the house. He took the child in his arms, called the azan in his right ear, as was the custom, and held him close. Those present noticed that his eyes were wet with tears. It is recorded in traditional sources, including Bihar al-Anwar, that the Prophet was informed this child would one day face great hardship and be a martyr. The beloved Prophet started to weep, and Fatima wept with him. That was the beginning of Hussein's life, not with celebration alone, but with a sense from the very first day that this child carried something heavy and something great. To understand who Hussein was, we have to understand the household he grew up in. Arabia before Islam was a society built largely on tribal power. The strong protected their own, the weak had little recourse. Disputes over honor could last for generations. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to dismantle this system. Islam challenged much of that. It spoke of accountability, of justice, and of mercy. Hussein grew up in that household. His father Ali was a man known for courage and for standing by his principles, even when it costed him. His mother Fatima was known for her simplicity, her worship, and her grief after her father passed. Both of them lived in a way that placed what is right above what is convenient. This is what Hussein observed from childhood. The Prophet's peace be upon him love for his grandsons Hassan and Hussein was well known among the companions. It is recorded in Sahih Bukhari that the Prophet described them as his two fragrant flowers in this world. There are narrations that describe him carrying them on his shoulders, that when he was in sujood during prayer and one of them climbed on his back, he would lengthen the prostration until the child came down safely on his own. Those praying behind him would look up, see this, and understand without a word, which the Prophet said, Hussein is from me, and I am from Hussein. Allah loves those who love Hussein. This hadith has been discussed by scholars for centuries. The phrase I am from Hussein is notable because it suggests that the Prophet saw his own message continuing through his grandson. When in 1632 the Prophet, peace be upon him, passed away, Hussein was just 6 years old. 6 months later, his mother Fatima also passed away. Ali raised his children through one of the most turbulent periods in early Islamic history, a time of rapid expansion, political disagreement, and growing questions about leadership and direction. Hussein grew up watching all of this. Early Islamic historians who studied the Shama'il, the science of physical descriptions of the Prophet's family, have left us a composite portrait that is both striking and deeply moving. Hussein's complexion was fair with a reddish hue, the same luminous quality described for the Prophet's family throughout Islamic sources. His hair, black, which he would sometimes dye using a plant called basma. He was of average height, but do not mistake that for ordinariness. His build was powerful: broad shoulders, a wide chest, strong arms, strong legs, a broad forehead, and a thick beard framed a face that stopped people in their tracks, not merely because it was handsome, but because it reminded them of someone they had loved more than life itself. Imam Ali explained that his son, Al-Hassan, most closely resembled the Prophet from chest upward, the face, the eyes, and the noble forehead, while Hussein, from below the navel down to the feet, carried the prophetic likeness, and his character matched the Prophet's character. Those who knew him described his nature as kind, gentle, and merciful. There is a narration mentioned by Ibn Asakir in which Abu Huraira, one of the most prolific narrators of Hadith, encountered Hussein and knelt to dust the ground near his feet with his own garment. When Hussein asked him to stop, Abu Huraira said, "If people knew what I knew of your standing, they would carry you on their shoulders." The companions of Prophet who had known Hussein since childhood carried a particular awareness of who he was and what he represented. As Hussein grew into adulthood, certain qualities became more clearly defined. What people observed was someone who took seriously the responsibility of being who he was, who helped manage charitable distributions for the poor of Medina, who sat in the company of senior companions and was listened to. The Prophet, peace be upon him, had said, "Hussein is the lamp of guidance and the ark of salvation." At this stage of his life, that description might have seemed simply like the high regard a grandfather held for his grandson, but the decades ahead would give those words a different weight entirely. Hussain ibn Ali spent his early life in a city shaped by revelation, in a family shaped by responsibility, and in a time shaped by change. He did not choose the circumstances he was born into, but the record of his life suggests that he understood them clearly and accepted what they required of him. 14 centuries later, his name is still spoken because of who he chose to be when being anything else would have been easier.